Hi, this is the fifth video of the second section, configuring and using the debug module. In our last several videos, we learned how to generate models, views, and controllers using YII, which is Yii's code scaffolding tool. Now, we'll look at another of Yii's development tools, the debug module. Much like YII, the debug module needs to be configured before use, and we'll learn just how to do that. Then, we'll take a look at some of its features. Finally, we'll learn how to create our own custom panel. Fortunately, the first step in this process should be pretty simple, as it is identical to configuring YII. Just go ahead and open up config web.php and scroll down to where we configured YII. The configuration options are so similar that we will simply copy-paste the YII configuration over the debug configuration, and then replace references to YII with references to debug. Now, head back over to your browser and reload your application. You'll notice something new and unfamiliar at the bottom of the browser window, the debug toolbar. Just by looking at the toolbar, you can see that we now have access to a wealth of information about our app. From left to right, you can see that it tells us what version of YII we're running, what version of PHP we're running, the HTTP response code for the current page, the current route, the number of log messages for the current page, the amount of time it took to process the current script, the amount of memory the current call required, the number of database queries, and the combined time it took to run them, and finally the number of asset bundles loaded on the page. Clicking on any one of these pieces of information will bring us to a page with more detail. For instance, clicking on the database portion of the toolbar brings us to a view that lists all of the queries that were run in order to generate this particular page, as well as their execution time and query type. Clicking on items in the left navigation panel reveals a host of valuable information about each page that you can use to track down performance issues and squash bugs. The top navigation allows you to view similar information for previous page requests. Hopefully it is becoming apparent how invaluable this information can be in writing quality applications. But what if you need information that isn't included by default in the debug module? Fortunately, it is reasonably easy to create your own panels and seamlessly integrate them into the debug module. For instance, it might be helpful to have a panel that tells us what monsters are loaded from the database during a given request. Go ahead and open up panels monsterpanel.php, and you'll see that we've created a new class which extends from the base debug panel. The init method is run before each and every controller action. The method's contents are a little advanced for us at the moment, but in a nutshell, they simply tell the panel that anytime a monster test object is loaded, using a finder function to add it to a private variable called monsters. The getName method simply returns the name of our new panel. getSummary returns the total number of monsters as well as the URL for the detail page of our new panel. This is how the debug toolbar at the bottom of the page gets its information. The getDetail returns our detail data in an HTML formatted list. In the previous two methods, we saw references to this data. The save method is what converts our monster's private attribute into the data used by the debug toolbar. The last thing we need to do is tell the debug module to use our new panel. So switch back to config web.php and add a panel section to the debug config. Then, tell the debug module where to find our new monsters panel. Let's head back to our About page, which we previously used to demonstrate monster test finders. Already, we can see that the debug toolbar at the bottom of the site has a new section, Monsters, and it tells us that 4 monsters were loaded during this request. If we click on this part of the toolbar, we're brought to a new panel detail page, which shows the names of each of the monsters which were loaded during this request. Nice work! Now that we've come to the end of this section, you should feel comfortable using YII to generate code templates for your application. You should also feel like you have a good understanding of the role of these templates in relation to the overall application structure. Furthermore, you also learn how to use the debug module and even create your own custom panel. In the next section, we will look at how to use Codeception, which is a PHP testing framework, in order to help confirm that our application is functioning as expected.